the channel. I'm Moedotj. This is episode 4 of the Ruff Ryders Chronicles. So we only got these last 2 episodes, and then it's over with, man. Then we got to find us another show. But I'm a huge fan of Ruff Ryders, so I'm glad we get to see this. This episode 4, we're going to touch base on the locks and how they came back to the Ruff Ryders. But hey, man, if you're part of the notification gang, salute to you, shout out to you. If you're new to my channel, you like my content, hit your subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so you get something every time I upload. But you know me, I'm not gonna hold you up, so let's jump into it. This is episode 4. Now, if you remember back, the locks, they originally came up under Ruff Ryders. So Ruff Ryders was always their management. They ended up signing to Bad Boy with Diddy because they got a lot of money offered to him, and Diddy was like, okay, I got an idea what I can do with these guys and keep them in the street. But of course it took off. The locks did a good job over at Bad Boy, but they weren't happy with that. You know, they're from the streets. Puff got them wearing all this shiny suits and all this stuff. That ain't them. They just want to be rough, have edgy songs, and just rap about the life that they live. But of course we know Puff, he, you know what I'm saying, pop, dollars. How can I make money? How can I market you to a bigger market? So they're mad. They're not liking it over at Bad Boy. So they go back and they tell their management at Ruff Ryders, Waah and D, hey, we want to leave Bad Boy. So they're like, all right, they work something out. But they were still on the contract with Bad Boy, and Diddy wasn't trying to let them go. So they ended up having to sit down with him because you remember their uncle knows Diddy's dad. So he set them down together and they came up with it. And Ruff Ryders actually bought the locks out of their Bad Boy contract for $3 million. And the first song that they put out on the album We Are the Streets was Wild Out. And they pretty much was taking shots at Diddy, you know what I'm saying? A couple of their shows, they had on shiny shoots, and they were like, nah, we good with this. This ain't us. So they took it all off, man. So the locks is officially Ruff Ryders. At this point, Y and D, they on top of the world. They got the locks with them. They got DMX. So they're thinking of how can we expand the Ruff Ryders and make some money? So what did they do? They went down south and hooked up with Cash Money Millionaires, and they had the Cash Money Ruff Ryder tour. Now this tour was big. This is larger than life. And how they made this happen was Y and D, the Ruff Ryders, put up half, and Seagram's Gym was their sponsor, and they put up the other half. So they got to go on tour, and they were bringing out everybody. And I mean, the shows were sold out everywhere. So they were on a 30 tour, 30 city tour. They going everywhere. But while all this is going on, they're just wilding out and just enjoying the life, man. It's like, we're out here on tour. We got the 2 hottest groups at the moment. Hey, let's keep this thing going, man. So, hey, Hot Boys were on their way up. They had the locks, the Hot Boys. You know what I'm saying? You had DMX, Juvenile. You know what I'm saying? So everything was, it was pretty much hand to hand. Swizz Beatz, Manny Fresh. So this tour actually made sense for them to go and do it since everybody's hot at the moment. Also, with expanding the brand of the Ruff Ryders, what Y and D would start doing is going to each city that they would go to, and they would meet people that ride bikes and pretty much make them a chapter of the Ruff Ryders. So with this, they started, you know, saying pretty much franchising the Ruff Ryder logo. Pretty much, you got a motorcycle gang, okay, you can franchise, you can have our logo, everything. You'll be a part of the Ruff Ryder meeting. So whenever they go on a tour, whatever city they go to, they always have people that they consider family because they're part of the Ruff Ryder larger organization outside of music. So that was actually like one of the biggest things that set Ruff Ryders apart from everybody. They had a legit street team. It wasn't just kids and stuff. It was actually adults that supported them and gave them places to stay and helped them out, you know, finding their way around the city whenever they came into town. Now, you know, anytime there's a large group like that, it's going to be some kind of trouble, something going on. So while they're on the tour selling out cities and things, they acting a fool. Birdman said Cash Money would ride with 100 people. So, you know, Ruff Ryder had at least 100 people also. They would go to these hotel rooms and they would tear it up. So word started getting around to cities before they even showed up. They're like, hey, man, don't let these guys check in because they ain't going to do nothing but tear up your hotel. So this was very rough on, you got a whole tour and now you don't have anywhere to stay because no hotels are allowing you to stay in it. So this was a big thing. They had to actually get their act together to finally get to check into places. Also, while on the road, unfortunately, their sponsor backed out because all the news on, hey, Cash Money, Ruff Ryders, they're tearing up stuff. Seagram's Gym, they was pretty much, we don't know if we want them to represent us. So they backed out. And now the whole tour is like, Y and D's gonna have to pay this out of their pocket because they don't have a sponsor. Now this is where everything on the tour starts getting a little rocky for them. So along with the sponsor backing out, all the artists are like, we're not performing now because we can't get paid. So pretty much Ruff Ryders is in the back and they went after Cash Money. So they're all sitting around. They're like, man, if we're not gonna get paid, we're not gonna perform. So they all voted on it. And pretty much DMX was like, I'm not, I'm not going out there and rapping if I'm not getting paid. So everybody else just followed suit because X is the big man. But Y and D were pretty much like, man, nah, we're gonna go ahead and do this out of our pocket. So y'all gotta figure it out and y'all gotta go ahead and perform. While all this was going on, they were going to tell Birdman and Cash Money that, hey, Ruff Ryders, we're not gonna perform because we're not getting paid. They already went on the stage. So Y's like, hey, y'all gotta do what y'all gotta do. Y'all gotta go on stage and perform. So everyone thought that the tour was gonna be over, but Y and D, they believed in it and they was like, nah, we'll just put the money up even if we gotta take a loss. But this is bigger than money, you know what I'm saying? This is our legacy. As the tour continues to go on, since they sold out all of the shows, they end up going to Boston. Now it turns out that in Boston, Benzino was a rapper. A lot of people didn't know Benzino was from Boston, but he was in a group called Made Men. And allegedly they had a problem with DMX. So while they were up there performing, Benzino and his crew that Made Men, they actually went in the back. They're trying to get in the room with DMX and talk to him. And like a man, and just have some word, no hands or nothing. But DMX's security wouldn't let him out into the hallway. The Locks end up coming in the back hallway, and they see Benzino, and they're pretty much like, what do you need? What do you know what I'm saying? What's going on? He's like, nah, I got to talk to X. And they're like, nah, that's not going to happen. So a fight breaks out. So a couple of people get stabbed. Benzino and them get up out of there, but it makes headline news. So it's already looking bad. The Ruff Ryders, they're tearing up casinos. I mean, not the casinos, but the hotels. They just wilding out. They lost their money, and now they got a stabbing and a fight. It was just all looking bad for the Ruff Ryders. But the Locks held it down for the Double R, though. And they made sure that X was straight because X is the money man. Even though they get money too, they were still like, hey, man, we part of the streets, and we're going to make sure that everybody we with is taken care of. Now, Eve is part of Ruff Ryders. She's already made a name for herself, so she's doing her thing. But while you're on the road doing these shows and stuff, you're in and out of hotels, you don't really get to live your life. And for Eve, she was young and coming up from nothing, so she would have her friends on the road with her. And after she'd get done performing, she'd want to go smoke and drink with her friends, but she'd have to get up before them and go to the studio or perform all night just to hit the studio, and you'll be in there 3-4 hours. And your friend, this is a vacation for them. And Eve, she's actually doing the work. So for them, they're just riding the tour bus and watching her perform. She's doing all this work. So for her, she ends up getting burned out and she leaves the tour. But the reason she leaves the tour is because she just, it's just too much for her. So for her, it's overwhelming. All the stardom that came to her, she wasn't expecting it. So she ends up leaving the tour, which takes us to 2002. After they finish the tour, where she starts to come up with her evolution. This is where Eve starts to pop, and she has her big song with Gwen Stefani, Let Me Blow Your Mind. And that's where Eve crossed over to pop, and she just became this big star. Everyone knew her, everyone loved her. Like, if Eve was on your track at that time, okay, you good. You know what I'm saying? Eve she was that thing, you know what I'm saying? The first lady of the Double R, and she was really holding it down with these record sales. At this point, they just had the Ruff Ryder Cash Money tour. Everybody's blowing up. Eve doing her thing. Like, everybody's doing their thing. So DMX is on top of the world. He ends up getting to his first movie, Belly, by Hype Williams. And no one expected this to become a hood classic, but it took off. Irv Gotti's actually the one that pitched the idea to Hype Williams, like, hey, you should put DMX in this. So when DMX was doing this, he's telling the director, like, I understand what you want me to say. I'm never going to read the script verbatim. I know what you want me to say, but let me say it how I want to say it to make it fit for the movie. So X took off. And after that, Joel Silver, he's seen it, and he actually offered DMX a role in Romeo Must Die with Jet Li and Aaliyah. And from that, he got a 3-movie deal, $15 million. So X is on top of the world. Like, he's doing movies now. He done got all these platinum albums. He's the _1. Like, now I'm in movies. I got a classic up under my belt, and now I got a 3-movie deal, $15 million. Yeah, you can't tell X you can't tell him what to do, man. He's on top of the world. He's the biggest artist. He's the biggest rap star that moved over to movies. So right now, he's like the most successful. So at this point, DMX is so big, he wants to do things on his own terms. Like, I'm doing movies and stuff, but he was getting so big, he stopped showing up to movies. They would call, like, hey, we on the set, where's X at? He wouldn't show up. Waah was like, hey, we got to record, music videos, but he wouldn't show up to the music videos, so they had to change the days for it. And X would just go on to his little binging of doing drugs and things. So what really started messing him up was he wasn't going to the Joe Silver movies that he was supposed to be in. He just wasn't showing up. And once you start messing with Hollywood and their money, that's when things start, that's when you start falling off. You start getting blacklisted and blackballed. Now, I did say DMX was on top of the world. So, of course, the VMAs, they're going to book DMX. He doesn't show up. So they book him again. He's so big, they book him again for the next year. X still doesn't show up to it. So for him, it's like, I don't want to do none of that. He wants to go do whatever he can do. And Waah and D with the Ruff Ryders, they're saying X is different. So when it comes to the movies, he has his own people. But when it comes to the music, that's when they can deal with him. But since he's so big as a movie star, he's bigger than what he was as a rapper. He's doing his own thing. He doesn't want people to tell him what to do. He feels like he's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do. And that's what X is going to do. We all know that. Like I said, X is on top of the world, but he starts missing events, so it's looking bad on him. If you remember back, X wanted to be owner of the Ruff Ryders since he helped bring him up, but he never got that. So for him, he ended up creating his own record label, Bloodline. So for him, he was like, I still want to be part of Ruff Ryders. Like, we're family. We're going to be family for life, but I want to have my own. I thought I was going to get a partnership with you guys on the Ruff Ryders, but since not, I'm going to start my Bloodline. And for X, it was tough for him. And he even said in the interview, like, I'm always going to be a Ruff Ryder. It's just families are complicated. So you could tell that he knew that the Ruff Ryders, they loved him. And growing up, he didn't really have no one there for him. So this was his family, and he was really hurt by it. So for X, it was just, I just want to, he's angry and frustrated because he wants to be part of the family, but he wants to feel like, hey man, I'm an equal to you guys. I actually help bring you guys up. So it was kind of the start of X's downward spiral. At this point, X ends up going to Arizona and starts working on his album. He felt like when he was in Arizona, he was away from everything. He got to clear his mind and just be free. So while he's down there, the rest of Ruff Ryders are doing their thing. Jadakiss actually is about to release his solo album, Kiss the Game. And then Eve, Let Me Blow Your Mind, and won a Grammy. And for her, it was like, we got somebody that we took from Philadelphia, just off the streets, rapping. We took her to getting a Grammy. She's crossed over. She's as big as you can get as a female. So it's like Ruff Ryders is just skyrocketing. Is in theory, and looking from the outside, you're like, nothing's wrong with them. But internally, things were messed up. So they're at the peak of their game. But unfortunately for D, one night, they end up wilding out, riding around, clearing their mind in the streets, riding the little T-Rexes and motorcycles, and an accident happens. And that's where we end episode 4. We pick back up with it on episode 5. So, hey, Ruff Ryders, they went as high as you could probably get in rap. They got a Grammy. They had DMX. Man, they was on top of it for real. Hey, and that's episode 4. Let me know down below. Were you messing with the Ruff Ryders when the Locks came back? Like, did you like the Locks better with Bad Boy or with Ruff Ryders? Let me know down below. But hey, that's episode 4. Come back for episode 5. We're going to pick right back up. We're going to finish off the Ruff Ryders Chronicles. I'm Moedotj. Thanks for watching. Like I say, man, if you like my content, subscribe to the channel. Hit your notification bell. Like, comment, share. Hey, thanks for watching, man. That's episode 4 of the Ruff Ryders Chronicles.
Jimmy on the beat, boy.